In this video, we're going to cover section 4.3. So we're going to talk about the order of operations. The order of operations is a set of rules that tells you which operations, so here we're talking addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, so which operations should be performed first in a numerical expression. So if we're talking about a numerical expression, we're just talking about a sentence essentially in math that contains only numbers and operations. So if we're talking about the order of operations, we want to make sure that we use whatever mnemonic works for us. So in your discussion, I had you come up with a couple of your own, but the most common one is PEMDAS. So this is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. What we're doing here is we're going to do parentheses first, exponents next. And then a lot of times people think that we have to do multiplication before division. That is actually not the case. So these are together. Whichever occurs first, we're going to do them left to right. And the same with addition and subtraction. So just because it's first in the mnemonic does not mean we have to do it first. It's just whichever one appears first on the left. Let's look at a couple practice problems. I'm going to do one on this screen and then I'll clear and do two more. Let's look at 18 minus 3 times 5 minus 3. We want to do the P first, or the parentheses first. So I'm going to keep the rest of the expression as is and do this 5 minus 3 to get 2. We would then move on to exponents, but we don't have any here to work with. So now we're working with multiplication and or division, whichever occurs first. Here we have multiplication. So I'm left with 18 minus 6 for a final answer here of 12. I'm going to clear this screen and do a couple more examples. Let's look at 6 times 9 plus 5 squared. So again, I'll write this at the top. PEMDAS. I always like to put a grouping symbol for multiplication and division and addition and subtraction, so that way I remember I don't have to do them in the specific order that they're listed. So here, I don't have any parentheses to worry about, but I do have exponents. So I'm going to go ahead and evaluate my exponents. 5 squared, remember, is 5 times 5. I have 25 there. I see that I have multiplication to work with next. So 6 times 9 is going to give us 54. And 54 plus 25 gives us 79. Let's do another one here. This one's going to look a little complex at first. 3 times 18 minus 16 squared divided by 6 times 27 divided by 3 cubed. So at first it looks very overwhelming, but just break it down step by step. So we're going to look and see what we have in our parentheses first. So I have 18 minus 16, which gives us 2. And notice I'm not doing anything else here. I'm just doing what's in the parentheses. But in order to do what's in the parentheses over here, I have to then use my order of operations again. So I'm looking inside the parentheses, and I notice that I need to do this exponent first. So 27 divided by, remember 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3. So I have 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. And I'm still not done with my parentheses. So I'm going to keep this one over here. Notice if I have 27 divided by 27, I'm left with 1. Okay, so I've done my parentheses. I'm going to do my exponents next. So 3 times 2 squared. 2 squared here is going to be 4. And notice now we're doing multiplication and division, whichever occurs first on the left. This is left to right. So I'm going to do this one first to get 12. Now if I move left to right, I have 12 divided by 6, which is 2. And 2 times 1 gives us 2. So that's just if we're working with algebraic. Notice that everything has been just a mixture of numbers and algebraic operations. When we move on, share the screen. When we move on, we come across something that is called an algebraic expression. So it's not just numeric. Here we're going to have a collection of letters and numbers and operations. So again, before it was just numbers and operations, now we're including variables or letters. When we're looking to evaluate things, it's always important to substitute whatever value we have for our variables. So substitute into the expression first, and then use our order of operations to simplify. So we'll do a couple practice problems. I'm going to do 4 all together. So I'll do 2 here and then do 2 more to wrap it up. So let's start with 8 plus a squared. Notice before we did not have variables, but now we do. So we're introducing any type of letter into this expression. In order to evaluate it, we have to be given some value for that variable. So we're being told here that a is 4. I recommend anytime that we're substituting to substitute into parentheses if possible. So here we have 8 plus whatever our value is for a. So here it's 4 squared. Then we're going to go back to that order of operations. So I'm looking at my parentheses. I don't have anything to do inside of those parentheses, but I do have exponents to simplify. 4 squared is going to give us 16. Then we're going to add them together here to get a sum of 24. What if I ask this differently? So it's going to sound the same, but I'm going to take the quantity 8 plus a and I'm going to square it. I'm still going to keep my value of a equal to 4. On this one, since I already have this 8 plus a in parentheses, I'm not going to add another set. I'm just going to write 8 plus 4 and that quantity raised to the second power. So I'm going to do what's in parentheses first. So I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 squared. So this is going to give us 12 times 12 or 144 as our final answer. Let's move on and do 2 more examples. I want to look at 6 times x plus 3 given a value of 4 for x. We're just kind of adding one extra step to the one we just saw. I'm going to keep my 6. I'm going to substitute in this 4 for that x. And then remember again, PEMDAS. So parentheses first, and then multiply. And for our last example, let's take 4b divided by 3 minus 7. And let's use a value of 15 for b. So now I'm going to substitute that 15 into parentheses, because remember, if they're right by each other, This means we're going to multiply them. And then divided by 3 minus 7. So we're moving on here to our multiplication and or division left to right. So we have 4 times 15 is the first one we encounter. And now 60 divided by 3 and 20 minus 7. So that is a couple examples for evaluating algebraic expressions. On this next slide, I do have the homework for chapter 4. You're going to be doing the chapter review problems. I chose some evens. If you end up having any questions as you're working through, you have a couple different options. You could always reach out to me and I can try to help clarify something for you. Or you can also try an odd problem that's right by the one you're stuck on. And that answer will be in the back of your book. So you should be able to check as you're going along and then kind of apply the same process to your even problems. To submit this, feel free to do your homework on a notebook sheet of paper. You can send a picture with your phone and email it to me. You can also scan it if you are by a scanner, and then send a PDF to me as well. But either way, the homework is going to be due Friday by 11:59 p.m. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions along the way.